What's up everybody, welcome to the video. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Today I am here with the 2025 Toyota Land Cruiser. Toyota has loaned me this Land Cruiser to keep for an entire week so that I can give you guys the most thorough review possible. Alright, first let's start off with the ride quality. So the suspension, double wishbone in the front, multi-link in the rear. So this is a giant body-on-frame SUV. We're really high up, and the suspension, it's very soft, but it's also very bouncy. Like anytime you find yourself making a transition, like at an angle, like pulling in or out of a driveway, the way it rocks back and forth is a little unsettling. But aside from that, it's an incredibly soft ride. This has an even softer ride than the Lexus GX 550 that I drove about 2 months ago. This car is basically like its fraternal twin. It's the exact same platform, same chassis, and even like from the side profile, the cars look exactly the same. Basically, the interior, the front fascia, and the rear fascia, those are the only differences. Now, part of that really soft ride is thanks to the incredibly thick sidewalls on the tire. This trim has an 18-inch wheel, but the sidewall of the tire is a 70 series sidewall, which is the thickest one that I've ever tested out personally. So the amount of cushion that offers is quite a lot. That Lexus GX 550 that I drove had 22-inch wheels, and the sidewall, I'm not sure exactly how thick it was. I'll put it up here on the screen. But you could feel a lot more vibration coming in from those lower profile tires. This one, vibrations through the tires are completely non-existent. This might actually be like the smoothest riding car that I've ever driven. And one really good thing about basically being the exact same car as the Lexus, it's incredibly quiet on the inside. It's just as quiet as the GX 550, which also means build quality stellar. Lexus has always been known for that. They always make a very high quality and just well-built car, so this benefits from that. We'll see how it does out on the highway, but right now things are looking really good. And just to test what I was saying before about the rockiness, I'm going to turn around in this driveway to test it out here. So pulling in, you can just feel the back and forth motion. And same with coming out right when those front wheels hit the road. It's quite noticeable. So that's my only issue with the ride itself, but that's kind of unavoidable given the dimensions of the car. It's very tall, it's very top heavy. So I don't really think there's a way around that. So it just comes with the territory, I guess. But I think part of that too also has to do with the fact that the suspension was made for off-roading, so there needs to be some flexibility, you know, when you're going over uneven terrain. And this Land Cruiser is actually equipped with a disconnect for the front stabilizer, and that basically further enhances the flexibility of the suspension so that when you're going over those rocky, uneven terrains, the wheels can contort even more than they usually would. This also has multi-terrain select, so aside from the drive modes, when you hit multi-terrain select, you can see up here we have all these different options. We got deep snow, mud, sand, dirt, and auto. Usually just leave it on auto, but it's got different configurations for different kinds of weather and terrain. Next, let's talk fuel economy. So this is a hybrid, a 2.4 liter turbo 4-cylinder. Gone is the naturally aspirated V8 that the Land Cruiser used to have. But this has a combined 23 miles per gallon. That's 20 in the city and 25 on the highway. But I have to say, for a car this big and this powerful, that's not that bad. And I feel like a broken record always talking about how great Toyota's hybrid systems are, but they just really are. They're seamless. The way the engine kicks on coming off the electric motor, it's always very smooth. And when going at lower speeds, you often don't even notice it. So this system can put out 326 horsepower, 465 pound-feet of torque, and this is paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. This is the iForce Max powertrain, which is a little bit different from some of the other hybrid models that Toyota has, like the RAV4, for example. The iForce Max gives you the 8-speed automatic, whereas some of the other systems, you just get like an eCVT. So because of that, we do get a tachometer. We don't get a power gauge like, some of the other hybrid systems, which I like. Let's see, we have our drive mode selector right here. So when going through it, we have sport, normal, and eco. So for the acceleration test, we'll put it in sport. This doesn't have paddle shifters, but it does have a manual mode where you can upshift and downshift from the lever. And of course, with this being an off-roader, we do have full-time 4-wheel drive, high 4 and low 4. Normal driving, you keep it in high 4, but once you get off-roading, that's when you use the low 4. This also has a center and rear locking differential. Alright, so coming up to the acceleration test, I'm going to come to a complete stop. Not going to brake torque it, just going to go. And we are going a little bit uphill, so let's keep that in mind. Okay, complete stop. And so this 8-speed automatic transmission doesn't quite let you rev to redline. It shifts into the next gear right around 5,500 RPM, but redline looks like it's at about 6,200 RPM. So I wish it would let you rev a little bit more, but 0 to 60 is rated at 7.7 seconds, which in a vehicle this big, I guess that's not bad. There's good low-end torque coming from the electric motor, but it just takes a little while to kick in. Also, while doing the 0 to 60, I accidentally engaged the kickback switch that this has. And if you don't know what that is, basically, when you put your foot all the way down on the accelerator and you feel a little click at the bottom, that's a button that automatically drops the gear in the transmission. It really only makes sense to use once you're already in motion and trying to pick up speed, like if you're on the highway trying to pass somebody. But like confusing the transmission to drop a gear when you're in first gear, that doesn't really help. So that caused a little hesitation. You also have your typical turbo lag, but once it does get going, it picks up pretty quick. And when accelerating, you can hear that turbo whistle. Alright, so now we are out here on the highway. Plenty of pickup on the highway. Now, as far as noise, there's a little bit of noise coming in from the other cars surrounding, but there's like no wind noise coming in at all, so that's good. And all the little bumps in the road and stuff, the suspension just eats it right up. Still very smooth. Okay, now going a little faster, there's a tiny bit of wind noise coming in. But once you're already up to speed and you put your foot down, the low end torque kicks in right away. Still just a slight bit of turbo lag, but that's just the way these systems are. Also, visibility in here is great. The windows are very tall. You can just see everything. And being this high up too, you just feel like large and in charge. Alright, so while we're out here, we're going to test out the adaptive cruise control system. So first, we got to make sure lane keep assist is on, and then this button right here sets your speed. Now the system's on. Hands off the wheel, hands off the accelerator and brake. Okay, it's nudging me to put my hands back on the wheel. So I guess in Toyotas, it does that fairly often from what I can remember. Okay, we're slowing down, maintaining that distance with the car in front of us. Another nudge. Up the speed a little bit. Let's see, 55. Okay, good. Okay. Then it picks up and gets back up to speed as soon as the car in front of you leaves the lane. Give it a nudge. Okay, good with keeping centered in the lane so far. And maintaining the distance with the car in front. good braking and good job with the 2 lanes merging into one. Oh, drifted a little bit there. That wasn't good. Okay, so we have a turn coming up here. We're a little bit on the left side of the lane, but we're taking this turn here good. I just wish it would slow down though. I think one way these systems can be improved is when you do have these turns to, slow down on them and not just prioritize the distance and the speed. So it does a great job with the braking and accelerating and accounting for, vehicles that kind of jump in last second right in front of you. But it looked like it got a little confused earlier when the car in front of me was leaving the lane, and then the car also started leaving the lane too. So a little bit of drifting, but other than that, pretty solid cruise control system. This 2025 Toyota Land Cruiser has a 12-speaker JBL audio system, so let's take a listen. So the audio system sounds pretty good. Only thing, it's just a little bit bass heavy, and it kind of, rattles the interior a little bit because of that. But other than that, I think it's got good clarity, good power. No complaints for me. So overall, pretty good. Now as far as the steering and the handling, pretty quick to respond steering wise, but as I mentioned before, the handling is not so great on really sharp turns and higher speeds. Like I said before, this has a very high center of gravity. It's very top heavy, and it's just got a lot of body roll. Even on something as basic as pulling in and out of a driveway, you can feel it. Off-roading obviously is not an activity that is done at high speed, which for this vehicle's intended purpose is fine, but this is not something you want to throw into a corner or take a sharp turn too quickly. But even with the off-roading part aside, it's still a very, very comfortable family hauler. This configuration, while it only has 5 seats, I think, the third row that like the GX has is just a bit too cramped and just makes the interior a bit more cramped too. So I think the 2-row configuration makes more sense. You can also haul a lot of stuff because this can tow up to 6,000 pounds. MSRP of this 2025 Toyota Land Cruiser is $68,695. Big thank you to Toyota for sending me this Land Cruiser to keep for an entire week so that I can give you guys the most thorough review possible. If you enjoyed this video, please share with a friend and subscribe. It'll really help the channel grow. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos, and be sure to follow @OpticalAutomotive on TikTok and Instagram, and check out the page on Facebook. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.